Los reglamentos federales requieren que los pasajeros sigan todas las instrucciones de los tripulantes de vuelo esta noche.
Man, it's been so long since I posted anything, man. Poor channel. Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to do a little catch up with you guys and tell you what I've been up to. Tell you a little bit about my journey, my trip to Europe, to Barcelona in particular, and some things that I bought along the way. So let's go. This July I spent some time in Barcelona. It was my first time there. I've never been to Barcelona. I've heard about Barcelona, but I've never been there. So I didn't know what to expect. I just assumed it was going to be like a nice city, of course, and it was going to be okay. But it was so beautiful. Like I had no idea how interesting it was going to be. And yeah, in general, nice food, a lot of vegan food, a very nice cultural scene. Like I have some friends who have moved there. I mean, it's a city that I can understand why so many people go there. I definitely want to go again next year, which is, yeah, next year a friend and I are gonna give the workshop again in Seville and then hopefully go to Barcelona once again. That's the goal. Man, it was so good. But the main thing, not the main thing, but to me the main thing of that travel was books. So I come from Chile, and in Chile most of the books are really expensive. And when I was growing up, I would see in Spain there's so many publishing houses, so many new books come out every year. And I remember when I was growing up, all the things that I wanted to read were published in Spain. So mangas, role-playing games, the novels that I wanted to read, and then when I started getting into philosophy, the best editions were always the Spanish editions. So when I went there, I was like, okay, I'm finally gonna buy all the damn books that I always wanted to buy. So I bought a lot, and I want to tell you about the books that I bought and why I bought them, and maybe inspire you if you want to buy some of this and get into the vibe. Now they're in Spanish, of course, because I bought them in Spain. So some of them, of course, have translations into English. Some of them were originally written in English, but I wanted to buy them translated. So let's go. First, philosophy. Felix Duque is one of my favorite Hegelians. I've read some of his books and he has very nice insights about Hegel and the system of philosophy of Hegel. So I decided, okay, I want to buy some books by Felix Duque. And I bought this, Filosofía del Imperio, Philosophy of the Empire. He is the editor, curator of these essays. I haven't read it. I haven't read any of these books. I mean, two of them. But I haven't touched this. It seems interesting, like just the fact that the name of it, Philosophy of the Empire, seems very fitting to usually what I like to read, and I usually like Felix Duque, so it seemed like a nice collection of essays on political subjects that I would love to touch upon and see what they're about. I just briefly glanced it over and it seemed interesting enough, so I bought it. The big thing that I bought, probably the heaviest and most expensive thing that I bought, was the translation that Felix Duque did from Hegel's Science of Logic. So it comes in 2 tomes, which, as you can see, are massive. And these ones are so expensive to buy anywhere else. I tried to buy them months ago, but just each of these cost like $75 or something, and they're heavy, and bringing them over and paying the postage and everything, it was so prohibitively expensive that I decided, okay, I'm never gonna have this edition. But when I went there, just for shits and giggles, I asked somebody in a bookstore if they have it, and they had it. They had it in La Central, which is it's a very nice bookstore, by the way. And I found this and I bought it. One thing that I don't like about this edition is, here, it's time to confess myself. I have sweaty hands. I've always had sweaty hands. I sweat a lot. That's just how I am. It's my body. There's nothing I can do about it. The bad thing about sweating a lot is that I stain books when I read them. They become wrinkled because I sweat a lot. And this cover is a paper cover. So I'll need to remove the cover in order to read it. But this is also paper. And it's gonna stain when I touch it. So it's... I didn't like that. I don't like it because it's gonna get stained as I read it, and it's such a beautiful edition that it's a sad thing that I'm just gonna mess it up by existing. But I guess that's what it is. The first part, it has the section on being and the doctrine of the essence. The second one has the doctrine of the concept. It has a long preliminary study, which is about 200 pages or so, which is very, very good. Felix Duque is such a great, Hegelian scholar, and it's this edition. I haven't read this edition, of course, because I haven't fully read The Science of Logic of Hegel, but I want to read it, and this is the main reason why I bought it. If you're gonna get into a text that it's difficult, at least get a nice edition. So that's why I did it. This is what I bought from philosophy. Let's go with some other topics. Metáforas sospechosas, suspectful metaphors, or metaphors that raise suspicions. It's a short book. I'm halfway there, and I read it in like a few hours, 1 hour, I guess. It's a very short essay. It's a talk that Daniel Cassany gave a few years ago, and it's about the act of writing. So if you're thinking in Spanish and you're looking for a nice book about the act of writing, it's very cool. I teach university writing at Columbia. I have taught it like 5 times, and this semester I'm teaching a class on memes. It's a very cool class. But when I teach university writing, I teach everything that this book is saying. Basically, writing as a way of thinking, getting feedback from your peers, rewriting as a way of getting there, do not expect to get everything perfect, like general advices. But this book makes a nice way of just stating those advices in a friendly way. So yeah, recommend it if you're looking for some kind of writing studies text that's very simple and in Spanish. Pretty good. Theater! Man, I bought 2 books on theater that I was super looking forward to. One is this one by Rodrigo Garcia, Cenizas Escogidas, which is a collection of some of his plays. In case you don't know, Rodrigo Garcia is a very, very well-known Spanish playwright. And I'm not a particular big fan of Rodrigo Garcia. I like some of his texts, not all of them, but like if I have the chance and the opportunity to read all of his plays and have a better understanding of his like playwriting project, I'm there. I'm so down for that. I love discovering new plays and understanding, sometimes you read one play and it's not fully, it doesn't fully explain, or it doesn't allow you to fully comprehend what the author is doing or his authorial project. So I always like to read long collections of poems or plays that allow me to have a better grasp of what the author is going for. And I haven't read it, of course, but I definitely want to go for it, because Rodrigo Garcia, like it or not, is an important voice, and it's important and crucial to understand the voices that are, affecting our culture. I bought this one, La Teología de Hieronymus Bosch by Rafael Spregelburg. So I know Rafael. He's a friend of mine. I met him so many years ago, back in 2005 or something. I've always enjoyed his writing. He's a fellow playwright and a constant inspiration for me too, because he's always like writing so much and doing so much, and I love his style and what he does. He does a very specific kind of theater that's very Argentinian and very European at the same time. So if you have not read anything by Spregelburg, this might be a good way. It's a collection of his of 7 plays that he has written based on a Hieronymus Bosch painting, and I really like this. I'm happy that it exists as a collection with all the plays. I've read them all separately, but now having them all in one single book, I think that's super cool. It's funny because I have some of the other editions like one by one, like separate editions of the plays, but having them all in one, it's pretty cool. So yeah, if you want to get into Rafael Spregelburg and you're looking for some kind of way in, this might be a great way of getting into it, because it's a massive project, and his plays are always very long and have like complex ways of explaining things, and they go into these characters and little worlds and whatnot. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful collection of plays, and highly recommended. Some of my favorite plays are in here, so yeah, go for it. Narrative literature. I bought and read this one by Roberto Bolaño, 2666. So you probably heard about this one. It became very famous in the United States. This is the last novel that Roberto Bolaño ever wrote. It was published after his death, and it's amazing. It's a beautiful novel. It's very long, so it's how long? How long is it? It's 1,180 pages. So it's a project. But man, I read this in like 3 weeks. It goes by so fast, and I read very slowly when I read novels and when I read fiction. I'm a very slow fiction reader, and this one just it flew by. It's so good. What Bolaño does better than anyone is just telling you the story of something, and then within that story he gets into little pieces of information about a character's life, or some conversation that somebody had at one point and reminds the main character of that, and it goes into a tangent. Like, he makes little pockets of information and he just explores those pockets, and those pockets can last from like a single paragraph, like, oh, when she sent the letter she said this, and they last up to like 20 something pages, like, oh, that reminded him of the time when his grandfather came to the city, and it becomes like a long story about, you know, family matters and intergenerational trauma and whatnot, and it goes in depth about it, and once that story's done, poof, it's over and it never comes back. So the book is it's a collection of 5 books, different elements that connect them. They're all tied to murders and kind of like a wannabe mystery novel, but it's never a mystery novel. So it has some noir elements that are pretty clear, but it's not a noir novel. And in a way, the story doesn't matter, and that's what I like the most. So I'm not a very story-driven person. When I'm reading, I generally don't care about characters, what happens with them, the story. Was the story engaging? I don't care. In general, I truly don't care. But so this is perfect because it gives me characters, it pushes some kind of story forward, but it's not the story what's important, it's the way the story is being told. Man, just so highly recommend it. If you can get into this one, go for it. I also bought this collection of the complete collection of short stories by Borges, and I've read some Borges, of course. Like I'm from Latin America. Like, reading Borges is part of what we do, but I have never actually getting to like, oh, I'm gonna understand Borges, I'm gonna go for Borges. Like, I've never done that exercise. So now I decided to do it, and I bought it. I haven't read it, of course. I haven't even started, but it's a long collection. Like, it's how many? Like almost like 545 pages long. So it has pretty much all the short stories, and I would love to know more about Borges and like really get a full grasp of his project. Like, as you can tell, I bought collections of works. That's one thing that I really like, as I mentioned before. Like, collections of works really allow you to dig deeper into an author and the ideas that the author is exploring. So just reading one short story or one play or a few poems is not enough for me. Like, I like to get the sense of what the author was going for, and I think this is a good place to start reading Borges. Recommend it. And last but not least, this is the Spanish edition from the Ulysses. So this is Tome 1 and this is Tome 2, or Volume 1 and Volume 2. And I have read the Ulysses also divided in 2 volumes back when I was like 20 years old or 21 years old, and I didn't understand any of it, and I abandoned it halfway through. So I read almost the first part and then I just abandoned it. And I've been wanting to get back into the Ulysses because I've been told it's so good, it's so interesting, blah blah blah. I started. I am here. I'm on like page 160 from the first volume. It has very nice moments, like very, very good moments, but in general, man, it feels like homework. Because you need to understand a lot about Dublin culture and the time in which the play was written, and also a lot of Shakespeare references and references to the Odyssey and to like mythology in general. I can get some of those, but I'm not sure I enjoy the act of decoding a text so much. I much more enjoy the act of reading a text that I find endearing or motivating or surprising and just going for it. There's sections in the book so far that I've enjoyed because they're generally well written and they're pretty cool. But in general, it's been a challenging reading, and I'm not sure it's been as rewarding as I was hoping it was gonna be. I don't know. I'll keep you posted if I ever finish it, but for now I'm just going for it. So Ulysses, that was the other thing that I bought. Let's go for the next one. I just bought this one in a used fair. It's Beyond the Natural by Douglas Hill and Pat Williams. I know it's in English, so there's a translation. I just bought it because it costed €1. So I was like, man, I want to read it. This sounds fun. I don't know, I started it and I haven't moved forward too much, but it's about the understanding of the supernatural and how do we think of the supernatural in our society in which the supernatural has been, relegated into horror movies or just the mythical things like, oh, nobody believes in this. And the book is exploring that avenue, like, what do we understand by the supernatural? What would it mean to understand it in our terms, and how can we breach that, and so on and so forth? Like the collective unconscious of mankind, how it is manifested through this unknown that lies way beyond rationality. It seems like an interesting book, but I don't know. I haven't finished it. I haven't explored fully. But I know it's in English, so if you're looking for Beyond the Supernatural by Douglas Hill and Pat Williams, you'll surely find it, because here it is in Spanish. So The Supernatural is called in English, and it's from 1975. It was published first in London in 1965, so it's from 1965. There's a lot of things that contemporary society from 50 years ago is not the same as it is today, but man, it seems pretty interesting. It's 60 years ago. Wow. You should know by now that I am a big fan of role-playing games. So there's one role-playing game that is only available in Spain because it's deeply connected with the Spanish folklore, the Spanish way of speaking, the Spanish humor of the 90s, and that is Fun Hunter. Fun Hunter is a game that I have always had pirated copies of. I had downloaded bootleg versions from the internet. I always had like a illegal copy of Fun Hunter with me. I liked to narrate this game when I was in my early 20s. I thought it was really cool. It's a future in which Europe has been taken over by a guy who's crazy, and he claims to be the new pope, possessed by the spirit of Philip K. Dick, and he decides to install a fascist government in which being nerd is prohibited. So you can't read comic books, you can't enjoy mangas, you can't watch action movies or gore horror movies, or not any of the fun nerdy geeky things that we used to enjoy back in the day. You can't do it, and now there's a resistance of nerds and geeks against this. So it's very niche. It's very like tied to the humor, like who's in the know kind of humor. Like you make jokes, your characters are named in certain ways. You all have it's just a funny way of toying around with this completely useless knowledge of geek culture. So Fun Hunter. I used to narrate Fun Hunter a lot when I was younger, and all the characters look like this. So let me see if I can find they have like big noses, and they have a very round faces, round bodies. Yeah, that's the vibe. It's just, yeah, that's the vibe. It's Fun Hunter. It's got a very distinct style, and it is always in dialogue with the nerd and geek role-playing game and gamer comic book tradition. By the same token, it's so ingrained and so embedded in that culture that there's an extension of Fun Hunter. The Fan Hunters are the guys who hunt down the fans. So it's a police. It's a kind of like a fascist police, the Fun Hunters. But there's also Vampiro, Vampire. And Vampire is a parody of Vampire, of course, the White Wolf role-playing game. And it's a game in which you're a fan who becomes a vampire. And you do, you know, vampire things. And it's very cool, because if you know the game, like the original Vampire, it's the same design. It's organized in the same way. It has the same like tables of contents, and you know, it's very similar. It's basically like a bootleg version of Vampire, but made with these characters with big noses and talking about geeky stuff. And there's an extension of Vampire because, of course, White Wolf back in the day made like the game and 1,000 extensions. So there's an extension called Varna City by Night, which is a parody of the extension module for Vampire. And it has the same structure, the same style, the same vibe. And yeah, it's an adventure. It's a module. It's an adventure for Vampire. So this was my role-playing game acquisition. I always wanted to have Fun Hunter, and now that I have it, I'm really happy. It's like a little tick. My younger self will be very happy about this purchase for sure. So that's what I bought in Spain. That's the little haul that I have for you. Haul. It sounds like I have a hole. Haul. Haul? How do you pronounce haul? Anyway, that's what I wanted to show you. Spain was beautiful. Barcelona was amazing. I want to go back and I want to buy more books and make my library uncontrollably big and keep reading. I hope you enjoyed this little update, this little video with the books that I bought. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. I'll keep you posted. I'll try to post more and upload a video sometime soon. But man, the PhD life has been really getting a toll on me. It's been super intense, and I'm trying to come back to my life the best way I can, but it's proven to be very difficult. I'll do my best. But until next time, I hope you have a good weekend, a good week, a good month. I don't know when I'll be coming next, but I hope it'll be soon, and I'll be seeing you soon. All the best to you. Love you. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you. Bye bye.